Bit of a short video here today. I just wanted to go over a procedure that you should keep in mind when you're exporting Gerber files for your manufacturing purposes and whatnot. So I've got the board here, the motor control board, and this is an issue that's recently happened to me, which is quite a shame really, because I really dropped it on this part. So as you can see here, we've got the board. We want to export it out to our Gerber file set, and I'm in Altium, and depending on your CAD or ECAD, whatever package you're using, this is easily done. It's built into everything. So fabrication output, Gerber X2 files, whatever it is, and I've just selected all the layers here. So I'm going to click apply, and now it's generating everything. So notice that I have Camtastic 2, Camtastic 1, as I've just recently exported this. And I'm looking at this board, and I'm all happy with it. Should have really checked the layers, go for every individual one, see if I'm all happy with it. Because you get a kind of like a different perspective on this and see what mistakes you might make. Is everything looks too close or anything of that sort? So is the via too close to components? Is it too close to track? Will it potentially short out? Things like that. So I'm going to turn this all off, and let's take this example as my vias, so the holes in them. And this is where my issue went wrong. So essentially there was an issue with the stitching vias, and I tried to get something in for quote and to build during the end of last year, but because it was always quite busy near the end of the year, I wasn't able to. Done that, and I've sent them off. They had a look at it and everything, but I was missing some drill files. So whatever, I missed some drill files out of it because I didn't look over properly. Come this year, I take out these files and I go through Altium, I export it, and you can export some drill files here. I believe it's so you can drill some drill files and whatever, but really everything I think the Gerber should have it anyway if it's there. I didn't have an issue before with if you're using like a standard JLC PCB or a PCB way, I didn't have this issue before, so I've clicked something new anyway. And this is what happened. So I was changing the design and I changed the stitching vias. I'll be right back to change the stitching vias if you remember how this is. And I've put back the stitching vias now. And of course this is a poor example, but because these are obviously much bigger than the stitching vias before. But if you could imagine that I basically had an extra row of stitching vias here, so it was really hard to notice, to be honest, like who'd notice an extra row of stitching vias. And because I had sent this over, I hadn't dated the file whatsoever. I hadn't really updated the whole entire set. I've just sent an extra. There's a loss in translation and a mixture of what files to send over. And what this means was that because I've restitched the board, this extra set of files didn't actually connect anywhere. So it was just shorted throughout the entire board, and boy was it a pain to find this. I went through the thermal imager, I was pumping 6 amps into it. Of course, it was like roughly 3 watts because it was trying to limit itself on the power supply. So it was a lower voltage it was outputting. And yeah, just no heat appeared on the board whatsoever. And I think now maybe it should have appeared, but there was 9 of them, so the whole thing was just like dissipating heat across the whole entire plane. And that's essentially what happened. It was just these extra set of vias, and this could have all been avoided if I labeled my data correctly as how it should have been to add some traceability to it. So here we are in this is where everything gets outputted, and what I really should have done is really just select it all, add to an archive or compress it, or just add to a compressed zip folder. There it is. Then I should have called it motor control H bridge, whatever revision it was. So let's say revision 1, and I'll put today's date. And that's all it could have been. I had a complete name for it, what the date was, and all those files correspond to it. And had I really done this, the manufacturer would have known that these files were the correct ones and would have used them instead of the previous ones. This was something completely my fault here, and it's what I say all the time, is that because traceability is so important, it's important to date these things, and it makes it easier for everyone. And maybe some even communication could have been said, like, please use these in the design. But that's all I wanted to say, was that when you come to manufacture, please do make sure, even if it's just a one-off design or whatever it is, it's always good to have a date so you can go backtrack to what design it was and how it came about.